I'm not sure who won, but I know Australia lost. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Strong Casuals podcast. This is Ben, and we are here to talk about specifically arm wrestling. I'm joined by Anthony.
Howdy.
And
Howdy
Eric.
again. Glad to be back.
What's up? Chord Master Supreme. Coming at you for real. Okay, so June 1st, Dubai, King of the Table 11. Those of you that watched it, cool. Those of you that didn't, we'll go through a couple of the matches, at least tell you who won. This will be riddled with opinion, and this will be subjective, as most things are. But we'll give you some thoughts. Those of you who are completely out of the realm of arm wrestling, King of the Table is one of the two ongoing sort of contemporary iterations of professional arm wrestling, the other being East versus West, which we'll talk about at the end. But King of the Table is put on by Core Sports, somewhat organized and managed by Engin Terzi.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of differentiate whether you would call these separate events or like separate orgs. But they come, you go to the same website for them.
Yeah.
But it's like, I guess you would probably call them events.
Yeah.
They're their own event. Core Sports would be the conglomeration, the organization that has both of them,
or at least the like hosting.
Yeah,
people.
We know who's really pulling the strings.
Yep.
It ain't Core Sports.
No, it's the man himself.
That's just a name.
That's right. That's a alias.
Yeah. King of the Table 11.
So before this event, a whole lot of the card got mixed around 8,000 times, as it usually does, because these events are decided on by the man.
Yeah, one man.
And so
one
everything
guy does
gets
the
a little weird.
matchmaking and the event making.
Right, and some of these guys are dealing with, like any athlete, they're dealing with normal people stuff. Dennis Saplenkov was supposed to be there, however,
so he was the former
Hermes.
main event. That was supposed to be the main event.
Yeah,
Hermes Gasparini versus Dennis.
And then Dennis had an ulcer issue and decided not to. Or no, they called off the event. Which, I mean, Hermes made a comment.
Dennis had an ulcer. That's what it was.
Dennis had
ulcer flare up.
Yeah, and I mean, Hermes made some comment about, which I agree. Like, I don't want to do this unless he's in his prime. Like, I don't want there to be
that stuff.
a weird thing.
Injury.
So that got called off, and I think
it kind of ruined the event. I mean, it didn't ruin the event, but that would have surely made the event
more interesting.
Way more interesting. That match alone is way more interesting than. There's a couple of matches on this card that I was crazy excited for, which we'll get to the co-main. But yeah, the other thing between King of the Table, it's like they're more. Like I said, they do like roughly 1 to 7 matches. They'll do 7 to 8 matches as opposed to something like East vs West, where they have an undercard and a prelim card and a main card. They have 20 pulling matches on that.
Yeah, and at least recently, East vs West is men and women. They're
you're right. I haven't seen
female
anything
matches.
No females on King of the Table from what we've seen so far in the 11 events they've had. But
it's a weird dichotomy between King of the Table. I think has a better production quality, but the matches, at least the cards. Since it's begun, have always kind of been a little bit hit and miss.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like East vs West, maybe it's just you throw enough stuff at it, something will stick. But just because they have more matches, but I feel like there's been stronger matchups and better arm wrestling to watch in East vs West. But
I think it's in this case, I'll just real quick. Yeah, it's most of these matches: Michael Todd versus Lars Rabakin, Kamil Jablonski versus Vitaly. I'm just bringing these up. Kamil Jablonski versus Vitaly, Morozov versus Matyshenko. Those are matches that I see instantly. Those are going to be incredible matches. In this card's case, it was just a matter of every match being one-sided. And you didn't really know that going in, obviously. You're not going to know that going in, but it just kind of ended up being that way.
I think and even if you did expect, and they are mismatches, it wasn't even I don't know, it wasn't super interesting to watch. It's I honestly think the most fun for me to watch of this entire thing was, well, either Morozov Matyshenko or Paul Lynn, because I just love watching Paul Lynn.
We love Paul Lynn.
I love that matchup with Lachlan coming down and Paul Lynn going up a weight class, and then Paul Lynn just decimated it.
Lachlan, especially in the pre-match interview, he like the little package they put together, he was just like, it's gonna be murder. He's like, I'm coming down in weight. It's like, I'm just gonna completely destroy him. And Paul's like, no, not today.
And it was funny because afterwards, Paul Lynn was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go back to 95.
Yeah,
I don't want to stay here.
He was absolutely not even into the idea of sticking around. And I mean, why would you? You have nothing to prove. You just beat Lachlan. Just get out when you showed up for the match, right? Is he a replacement? Is that what happened here? Or
I think
one of them was
so.
replaced.
I don't know. The card history is so long that I'm not sure. But
I know. Well, and that's the problem too. Is like these matches have changed a few times, like in like the 3 or 4 months that we've had, and because these events go on at the same place, typically in Dubai, and they're run by the same human being, and they're run via the same kind of the social media, I'll just get them confused. Like, if I'm looking at one of the cards, and especially because they're going simultaneously, or matches are announced simultaneously as both two events are going on. You're like, I can't keep track of any of this.
Well, even, and I'm not hating, but even in Devin Larrett's post, King of the Table post
assessment,
he called it East versus West, which whatever. I mean, it's neither here nor there.
But that's
I
think
it brings it. It's sort of a bigger point.
That's what the public like. The public is not keeping track unless you're on the Reddit arm wrestling subreddit, which I hope people listen from the subreddit. Those people are more serious than anybody in the world. Yeah.
Well, and I think you get that with like niche sports where there's like legitimately probably sub 2,000 people that give anything about this. And I mean, it's cool that there's that community, but it's also one that's can be very divided sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's, that's when you just take like OG forums for, old arm wrestling, if there ever was one. I have zero idea if there was. I'm sure there was. But then now we have the universal forum platform with Reddit. So it's like, all those OGs are just going to go over there. Same with any niche. And so all the toxicity is there, but all the knowledge is also there at the exact same time. Yeah. So it's interesting. They're the only ones who can decipher who the Russians are. They'll talk about a Russian. Like, why is this guy doing this? I'm like, yeah, same, right?
You mean number 4? Yeah, I mean,
Artem 6, nice.
Yeah, like which Akov is this? No, I agree, and I think that's like not to get too far off the topic, but I feel like what sometimes makes arm wrestling, like, first of all, everybody, like Eric and I talked about this last week or last episode, and it was like, so a lot of times arm wrestling is just viewed as this like throw the money on the table, toxic masculinity thing. Yeah. And I feel like this, like events like this, if say I'm just getting into arm wrestling and I'm like, oh, okay, I know enough to know about this King of the Table thing. I know that Core Sports is streaming it. I know I can pay $20 or whatever to watch it. Yeah. It's like, hey, I'll go out on a limb and I'll pay $20 and I'll watch it. If that's the 3+ hours of what they watch, they're not going to do it again.
Well, that's the tough part is like, because we talk about this the same thing with Devin Larrett, with Travis Bagent, with Matt Mask, with personalities, with people who have character. And this goes across any aspect of sports entertainment. If there's nothing but just complete technicality shown in a sport like this, in a sport where you just see table tactics, you just see to the casual, I mean, and not a casual like us, I'm talking to the layman, to a virgin of arm wrestling who just shows up to watch. Yep. You don't care about that. Nobody's showing any excitement. And even if they did show excitement, the audio in the arena is not good. There should be like, what are the hanging mics called, Eric? The ones that hang from the ceiling and they just
I don't know.
Like, but like a stage mic.
Ambience.
Yeah, like those stage mics that cover 360 degrees and just pick up everything.
And they could, all 12 people that were saying
it makes it a little more exciting because like once they pull away from the table, the only people who are mic'd up are the referees, I believe. Well, I don't even think they are.
And to further your point, you're absolutely correct. All we are watching is like the arm wrestling, which I know sounds weird, but it's like it's an entertainment sport. And then you have refs that have no idea what they're doing.
I know. And it's crazy because in the meeting of the rules, I mean, we've seen the smaller guy, who speaks Russian,
Yeah.
the smaller Russian ref. The taller guy was the one, like, he's like the head ref, and he was the one in charge of the rules meeting, and he kind of sounded like he cleared up everybody's questions, that if anybody had any questions, but granted, what is it? There's, how many matches was there? 7 matches, 2, 7, 14, four, I think like maybe 4 or 5 out of 14 dudes spoke English. So it's like they probably weren't going to ask very many questions as it was. But it's just like everything seems okay in the rules meeting. And then you get to the table and everything is completely not what's going on.
Apart.
It does.
And I mean, there's the whole running foul thing and the elbow foul thing. Like, I mean, last recording, I tried to go through some of that, but honestly, I think it pushes people away. And we know that the reffing is terrible, and I would love to get some perspectives. Hopefully, we're going to be doing interviews pretty soon, but I'd love to get some perspectives with people who are a little bit more in it.
Yeah, because I want to know, like, from the amateur side and the professional side, I want to know, like, if an event like this, something where there is, Ryan Bowen has a personality on the internet. He shows really no character or personality. He's not character. He didn't have a personality in the match. And that's the thing. If you don't have a personality, somebody like Devin Laird, who's just showing excitement, who's trying to, say things, interact with the other person that you're having a fight with, literally.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, it makes the match exciting for people it makes the fan excited who loves arm wrestling, but it also makes the fan who has zero idea about arm wrestling potentially a fan.
Right.
And when you don't have anything to give, like, via yourself, it just, like, you're like, well, this is going nowhere. This is just like, we're not. And it's kind of a weird thing. It's like, I still loved what I watched, but at the same time, you're not progressing the sport in the sense of, growing the sport,
right.
and that's the other thing. It's like, is it their job if you're a professional in the sport on a high level like that, is it your job to also, like, pay the fans, like, something, like, are you being fake, like, when you're doing it, or is it a persona? Do you want somebody to put on a professional wrestling character? And me personally, I wouldn't mind if you threw on a professional wrestling style of thing, just to get the excitement in the match. And you can also, get the momentum back to yourself. Sometimes that helps. Why do you think Devin is in people's heads? It's for the match. It helps him.
Yeah.
And so it's and once again, with everybody being half Eastern European, I understand, like, nobody knows what anybody else is saying also in some of these matches.
Communication is just hard.
Yeah, like when Georgie's pulling Devin and you're just screaming at a brick wall. Georgie has nothing to say.
Yeah, maybe that's the best defense against Devin's mind games is just to not know what he's saying.
Yeah, like Denis Chaplenkov couldn't look more confused while Devin's berating him.
Right.
Which was a weird thing to see in the first place. Because
Denis has always been cool, calm, and collected.
I know. I mean, look at the guy.
I mean, yeah. Though I did see a funny video of him in some weird, like, somehow got pulled into some, like a tug of war event, and some drunk dude was just walking around.
That clip was on the subreddit.
Yeah, he just, like, swipes, like, leg, like
it
trips
looked like
the
a
guy
drunk
and
guy
shoves him to the
slipped
ground.
into the event, is what it literally looked like.
Yeah, I know.
And then, and the Devin just heel trips him. Like,
he's doing the work.
He's built like a puma.
Yeah.
And by puma, I mean puma from Tekken, so a panda bear.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get back to that. First match was Ryan Bowen, school bus, let's be honest. Schoolboy destroyed him 6-0. Bowen didn't even stand a chance.
So going into this match, for the non-peoples, Ben, tell me who Ryan Bowen is. Who do you know? And even if it's just a rough sketch, who is Ryan Bowen to the arm wrestling community? Who is
So Ryan Bowen is an Australian arm wrestler. He has I'm going to be like bureaucratic. He has a significant influence on social media.
Okay.
Shows a lot of, like, it sounds, I'm not trying to, like, no, it's fine. He posts a lot of stuff of, like, training. He's talking himself up. He's talking about how he's yada, 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 could go up against this guy. And what I'll say is we haven't exactly seen that be the case.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have just sort of, like, he's either the most, like, loved or hated person among people.
Now, to my knowledge, he's been out for a while, right?
Yeah, he hasn't been in Like, I mean, I don't think we've seen him in much, honestly, since like the WAL went down.
Is that where he was?
Well, actually, I don't even know if he was in the WAL.
Check
But I mean, like,
check what leagues he was in quick.
Like,
because I feel like Ryan Bowen, with arm wrestling, the social media presence that's a massive. I mean, that's a reason that it's even getting a little bit bigger as it is, but it's just not really a thing. So when you're somebody like Ryan Bowen who's posting every day, potentially multiple times a day, you're just going to become a figure in the community. And especially if you're putting in like, real work, your real training videos and stuff like that, even if you're not showing that in events, people will still, cling on because you're captivating. And there's little captivating characters in the world of arm wrestling. So, hey, just, take what you can get.
Nah, he's just King of the Tail and East Fruit West, really.
So they don't even have
some like,
because that's weird. Because
there's some Australian stuff,
but this, I mean, he hasn't really he's massive on social media. Massive in the sense of arm wrestling, but it's like, I didn't know him before this event.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people knew that he existed, but I don't think anybody expected. Expected him to win. I mean, Schoolboy.
On the other hand, Schoolboy, in the sense of social media, is one of the biggest in the world.
Yeah, I mean, and he grew arm wrestling TV or whatever it is with his brother for a long time ago, just going out in the street and arm wrestling people.
Arm wrestling TV, everybody subscribe to that on YouTube. It's an incredible channel.
Yeah, they got merch now.
Top Roll.
Today.
Top Roll.
Alexander Top Roll. Yeah, his brother. And so like he has a following too, but the reason people paid attention to Schoolboy was because he was beating people. He's
been pulling for, what is he, 23? They said now?
It's like 22 or 23, yeah.
But he's already been pulling since he was like 15, 16.
Oh, yeah. No, and he had, a lot of these guys just have natural talent, and he does too. And he's coming into this match with Bowen after losing to Leonidas, who to
the average fan was also like a rookie in the sense of arm wrestling.
Oh, yeah. And
Schoolboy totally should have beat him on paper. Like everybody's like, right. Schoolboy is a way more credentialed puller than Leonidas Arcana.
But those matches where there's upsets, that's interesting. I'm not saying that is something that someone didn't expect to happen.
If you beat Schoolboy, you're an instant figurehead. And it doesn't matter. People are following you, one, because your body's ridiculous, and two, I mean, you just beat Schoolboy. His body is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, and that was his shindig. I mean, but this matchup is hilarious to me. I mean, like there was enough social media push to get like Bowen in the match, and then it wasn't fun. To watch.
It's really just two huge like pillars in the arm wrestling community. But in reality, it's just crazy one-sided. Schoolboy is pulling all the time, and Bowen hasn't been at any events, and then you saw it on the table.
I mean, he's quote unquote been training, but I don't know.
Training on Instagram is not.
There's a picture of him, so like he posted like the sort of classic like flex your pronator pose or whatever, and he's somewhat lacking in the pectoral region.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of people gave him a bunch of crap for it, and so he's like, I'm gonna bench and I'm gonna get a chest. It's like, okay, dude, whatever.
It's
but it wasn't. I don't think it was super fun to watch. Schoolboy just beat the hell out of him.
No, if you saw the match, I mean, Schoolboy just rolled over him like a school bus. It was pretty one-sided, and because it ended up being a 6-0 Schoolboy. And this is the other thing we'll talk about as it goes on. It's just like, so it's best of 6 rounds, but if you win 4 rounds, the match is over. You win the match.
Yeah.
But a lot of these pullers, almost every single one, except I think 1 or 2. No, 2.
A couple of them, yeah.
2 of them. They chose to just pull those extra 2 rounds, and we don't necessarily, you don't know what it is. My assumption is that it's just, more reps on the table. There's, very little events in the sense of massive events like this. Maybe you want more table time, but I don't know. You obviously have I don't care either way, but it's like
it's dumb.
It's dumb, especially when you're getting smashed like that. Like if it's an absolute smash fest and you're like, okay, we'll go another 2 rounds.
Dumb.
I mean, it was 6-0. Schoolboy crushed him hard. There was only one other match that was like an extra where like, I think Camille had like 1 win on Vitali, and he's like, it's like
2
in like round 5.
He ended up getting 2 pins, but it was 5 and 6
where you're like, the match is over.
Like, and if I were Vitali, I mean, he's probably not going to turn down the thing that, let's get there. So Ravaz and Georgie, not much to say.
This was truly, Honestly, so the only thing I have to say about this, the whole time obviously we're watching this match, Ravas is like 45 feet thick. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
His like upper chest and torso was like absolutely astronomically crazy. And Georgie, I mean, just another big dude, but like Ravas was, I mean, way thicker than Georgie. And so I thought it was going to be the exact opposite. And Georgie just looked on the table much smaller than Ravas and just smashed Ravas 4-0.
Yeah. I mean,
it was
Ravas is 6'4", 320 pounds.
Dude, he's so thick. It was craziness.
He's a big boy.
It was crazy. But he got smashed. You know, it's like one of those things where it's like, size-wise, size doesn't always matter necessarily.
No, and we can come back to that a little bit on the Artem Morozov or the Morozov match. But honestly, I said it before, but my favorite match to watch is Paul Lynn Lachlan Adair. So Paul Lynn is an American.
We love Paul Lynn.
We should get a little proud to be American button.
Yeah, dude. We love Paul Lynn.
And I love Paul Lynn. I think
literally me personally, I got introduced to like Paul Lynn. We saw him like 3 or 4 King of the Tables ago or something like that, or on an East versus West. Pull up his events list. And just like from his little like pre-interviews and just a little bit of talk, we're like, this guy rules. He didn't have a bad thing to say about anybody. He's a believer of the cross. He's a good man. He's a good father. He had his son in his corner for this event, which was absolutely adorable. And Paul lost. He lost his last couple of events that we saw, but he was facing absolute monsters. And I think one of them was a quick replacement as well. So it's like he kind of came in suddenly, but he's like, now he actually has a proper training camp, proper time to do this event. And then Lachlan Adair, did you find anything on his events, on Paul's events, or?
I mean, it's like contemporary stuff.
Yeah,
like
he's been in
East versus West.
Yeah, he's been in one of the more recent East versus Wests or something. But Lachlan Adair, and then this is our first time seeing Lachlan, but Lachlan was coming down.
Well, he's been I'm
sure he's been around in some events. Yeah,
So Lachlan was coming down a weight class
from 115, I believe.
and then Paul Lynn was coming up, and so Lachlan is also a Australian arm wrestler.
That's right.
And he was
because he was like with Ryan Bowen, like they came in together,
and they had trained a little bit together. And I think that like it's interesting because I don't think the cut went well for Lachlan to come down.
Yeah, probably not.
And he said it himself. Paul Lynn wasn't super pumped to go up.
Yeah.
And yet Paul Lynn just destroyed him.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. And I would love to know how much. Actually, I'm sure they had the tail of the tape. I don't know how much Paul weighed, like come the day of. I wonder if he filled out to the 105. But because he didn't have to necessarily, you know.
No, and I mean I know, but he talked about like enjoying the. Like coming back to that weight.
Oh yeah.
But he also said that I would love to, Paul, if you're listening, we'd love to interview you.
We love you, Paul.
But he made a comment in one of the like after event videos, and he said something like about that he like whatever, he enjoyed the bulk, but he's like, I'm excited to cut back down, and he said he likes the mental clarity or something like that, or mental something of cutting, and I want to know what that means out of it. But,
which is interesting because everybody, I mean, you see it in MMA, and you know, being a former wrestler who absolutely didn't cut because it's the worst. It's terrible for your body, and you see every fighter who chooses not to eventually cut and just wrestle at their casual weight, their walking weight. It's certainly the more better decision. So I would love to hear why Paul, you know, the mental clarity, you know, and people. Well, he seems like one of those people who loves the people who are comfortable with being uncomfortable, or who love to do that. You know, love to put themselves in that place.
He's clearly a disciplined dude. And
yeah,
he probably like enjoys flexing that disciplined muscle.
100%.
I mean, I also think that cut means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. You know, like if you're cutting 10 pounds from your walking weight, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Like if you're cutting 30 pounds to get down to, and you're Lachlan Adair and you're passing out when you're trying to like to train because you're so like, I don't know, man. That just doesn't. I don't think he was prepared to do it, and it's a weird matchup. That's sort of the moral of the story,
especially with somebody like Lachlan, where you can obviously see the guy is cut.
Yeah, his body needs calories.
It's like, I don't know where you're cutting if you're cutting weight.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, where are you cutting it from? You don't seem like you have that much body fat as it is.
Right.
And when you're cutting muscle mass or you're cutting any, you know, it's like, it's just not good for you. You know,
well, when you're that size, your body needs calories.
Yeah.
And I know this is a whole different realm, but there's,
I mean, this totally pertains to all strength, everything, to life.
So when Brian Shaw and Nick Best and Obi and Eddie Hall were recording for the History Channel, on Brian Shaw's podcast, they were talking about a day when they were doing, I forgot what they were doing, but Eddie was like, I need to eat. And, you know, like production was just like continuing. They're like, yeah, okay, we'll get you some food in a little bit. Like we need to keep recording.
Yeah.
And Eddie's like, no, I need to eat.
Yeah. How do these? Yeah.
And they like brushed him off again. And then I think it was actually, I don't know if I'm recording this or like retelling the story perfectly, but Brian said like stopped the production and said, you don't understand. Like we need to eat when you are that big and that size, you need calories or you're going, I mean,
constantly.
You're just gonna, like,
If you don't put in the 5,000 to 7,000 calories that a person of that size needs a day.
Well, and no matter what it is, consistently, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't go the same amount of time as a lot of other people. So I'm sure he's just in a situation where he just doesn't. I mean, he wasn't there. Mentally or physically, he wasn't there.
Didn't look like it.
But that's nothing. And then I don't mean that as a slight to Paul Lynn, because he did exactly what he needed to do.
Paul, yeah.
And
these are another two who pulled another 2 rounds. Paul was there for 6 rounds, all right, 6-0.
Yeah.
And in Lachlan, he put up a match, but it wasn't. This is what we said at the start of it. It's like these matches were kind of domination.
Yeah.
Almost all of these matches were, besides the last 2, were pretty much all absolute domination.
Yeah. And like going back to the 6-round thing, Coach Ray, I love Coach Ray.
Yeah, he's the best.
Who
without Coach Ray, the average fan would have no understanding of any technical analysis of anything that's going on.
Oh yeah, and he just does a good job of. Well, just because he's the best announcer.
He's what you would call. He would be a play-by-play. You know, you have your color commentators who just talk about, you know, basically try to make it not boring for the random person who shows up, and then your play-by-play,
which we can talk about,
right? Which is there's some color that you don't like, but the play-by-play, not no, color not commentary, like color commentary. Yeah. It is a term of phrase, color commentary. Some color commentary is just the human being behind the commentary. It has to be colorful and good,
right? And good.
And
like, King of the Table 11 might not have been that time.
Maybe not. But play-by-play, if Coach Ray wasn't there...
Oh, yeah.
If we were... And I love Neil Pickup to death, but if we're just dealing with Neil Pickup and this Australian guy, I don't know if I'm making it through all 7 matches. All right?
Definitely not if it's only that Australian dude. The Australian arm wrestler. That's his YouTube channel.
That's who it is.
Yeah, it's... Yep.
So this Australian arm... He has a YouTube channel, and he's the only person who is like doing watch-alongs with all the events on YouTube.
Yeah.
I randomly found him for like one KOTT or one East vs. West that I didn't see, and I was like, just trying to pull it up, trying to find somebody who's illegally streaming it on YouTube secretly somehow. With like, you try to find that guy who has like 11 viewers. You're like, he's just watching it by himself. But no, it's
a 9-year-old doing deadlifts.
Yes, dude. There needs to be more 11-year-olds doing like pronation lifts, like in their bedroom, streaming illegally.
I think there are.
Engan Terzi stuff. There probably is.
We're just too far west.
Yeah, that's true. It is. So is Japlenkov's son illegitimate?
Does Dennis have a son? I don't know. Who knows?
Probably has many sons. Let's be honest. Let's totally be honest. See how hairy that man is? He has many, many sons.
Yeah, that's That's how that works.
That is how that works. The man's got testosterone, and he's been with ladies. You can tell.
Sure. Yep.
Dennis, get with us. Get back to us on that, Dennis. Just
we'd love to do an interview with you.
My favorite interview ever.
And we're only going to talk about your Devin Larratt match from like 1990, whatever the hell. No.
I want to know when he pulled Paul Berzink in like 96.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, absolutely. What was I going to?
Paul Lynn Lockwood.
What I was saying. No, what I was saying was that. What was I saying? No, Coach Ray said on multiple occasions, like, why are you pulling these extra 2 rounds? Maybe it was either him or the arm wrestling.
One of them
team,
was bringing it up. Yeah.
Whatever. It's not the Australian arm wrestler. And the last thing I'll say about that is there was a hilarious comment on Reddit. There was something like, I don't know who, like, I'm not sure who won, but I know Australia lost.
Yeah,
this
I
King
saw
of the
that
Table.
comment. Yeah.
It's like Australia goes 0 for 12.
I mean, it's just like it's tough when you have a guy like Ryan Bowen who's just so there's so much presentation on social media. You're like he's getting his fans so hyped for his match, and then you're bringing your buddy at Lachlan, and Lachlan pulls really well too, and then you just both go down. You just go, and who knows? I don't know how. I would love to know how much like the flights cost and who's flying.
I think they fly. I don't know.
You would think like those. I think any flight to Dubai is expensive. Period. It has to be, and it better be on Engen's dime. That's all I'm trying to say. It better not be on their dime.
Also, Engen flies to Dubai.
Also, fly me to Dubai.
So next matchup, Monster Michael Todd versus Lars Rohrbach, I think Michael Todd is back.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I probably owe him an apology.
We both owe Michael Todd an apology. Michael Todd, we love you. You don't. That's the thing too. It's like it's with any sport. Individual sports are different too because you really get it presented to you as just the individual. So it's like you don't know what people are dealing with behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. You have no idea what kind of. There's plenty of people who don't talk about the injury that's going on.
Yep.
There's a lot of personal life issues that people deal with, and it's not like Michael Todd is facing schlubs in these last couple of events that he's been in. He's had some losses, but against top 10 dudes in the world, he's losing to.
Let's not forget he was the world champion. Yeah, he's been there.
And arm wrestling specifically, unless as of right now, unless you're somebody like Levon, there's ebbs and flows to your career because arm wrestling careers can also be so long. Like there's no reason you shouldn't have ups and downs, comebacks and falls from grace. Like you should be able to have multiple in your career. Somebody like Michael Todd, like that's got to feel so rewarding when you come back after a couple of years like he's had, and then to pull against somebody like Lars Rohrbach, who's no amateur by any sense.
No, and I think honestly, I know that Michael won, but I think Lars is making a comeback. I think he's relevant.
I think it instantly helps you once you pull a guy named Michael Todd.
True.
These names like Michael Todd, regardless of your career record, you are part of arm wrestling, and every single person knows you. And it helps once you're just in the match. To pull back to MMA, once you're Conor McGregor, for example, he's a POS now. That's fine. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But your grandmother knows his name for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like they don't have to watch MMA. They don't know what that is, but like you're just a name in the zeitgeist eventually, and that helps everybody who surrounds you, usually.
Yeah, and Lars has had a great career. He started in he's done a decent amount of stuff in strongman.
Yeah,
and then he sort of bridged the gap. So I think he's an interesting
is Lars
athlete.
In his 50s yet? I think both of these men are in their 50s.
I don't know. But I think he functions as a really cool example for us because like he's bridging gaps that we're kind of bridging.
Yeah.
Between like some strength sports and so he did some strongman stuff and then he entered into the arm wrestling world. Mm-hmm. There was some it was a good match to watch. I know Lars has been training, but I honestly think he just needs a little bit more time and a little bit more time in the
No, it's exciting
training, and I think I have no doubt that he will be more relevant moving forward.
Yeah.
And as with Michael Todd, Michael Todd, that was the fastest pin I've seen.
Michael Todd,
time.
It was like he was like showing like
he's 50.
It's 50. Okay, yeah, it was just like, it was just down and out. Like the match there was no time for slips, no time for straps.
Yeah, it was just done.
No time for anything. It was just boom.
And he's a guy who I feel like he is heavily influenced by his mental status.
Oh, totally.
Because when we saw him walk up to the table against Devin a while ago now, mm-hmm. he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a product of Devin getting in Michael's head or Michael getting in his own head.
I know.
But I can tell you, watching the match on Saturday, like watching the last match, after he got that first pin, he was a different person.
Yeah.
Wholly different person.
I know.
And I think that like that, I'm not saying that he wasn't physically prepared,
Yeah.
But once he got that first pin, I think mentally it just flipped a switch. And
I would love to, ask some of them, like, I know, like, really serious athletes, a lot of them, especially now, have sports therapists to deal with heavy losses and heavy wins,
Right.
with an important win with mass, comes, a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure on you. And if you're not ready for that mentally, it can just ruin you. And then you see it all the time in a lot of sports where, champions become champions and then they just can't handle it. And like a lot of the times in MMA, it's the worst because it's like then they get beat to death in the next, their first title defense. And it's like, you don't know what's going on the outside and they're just dealing with it terribly. And you see champions come out and confess, you're like, I couldn't even start to deal with the pressure or the amount of people reaching out to you and people, now people have invest in you and you're like, damn it, I have the whole world's on my back and on my shoulders. And it's like,
right.
People can't handle that. And you shouldn't be able to. Normal people shouldn't be able to handle that, especially somebody who comes from a sport where, something like arm wrestling where you're like, you don't think I would love to hear, like, you don't ever think there's going to be a fan base for something like that, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think when you find out there is, I mean, that's overwhelming to start with.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, people who care about you, strangers who care about you and your journey in arm wrestling, you're like, what is this?
And I mean, like, maybe this is neither here nor there, but like the way that we currently name these matches, super matches and like super heavyweights and world title, it's like everything seems maybe a little bit more heavy than it really is. And so I think that it's overwhelming no matter what, win or lose. I
But it's
agree.
just super super cool to see Michael Todd bounce back from that, and obviously Lars is only a bigger character and a bigger person in the sport now, and should certainly come back from this.
Yeah, I'd like to see a rematch of this.
That'd be great.
In like a little bit. Then we had Oleg Petrenko and Kidrigali Ongarbayev.
Yeah. So this was a match like
Petrenko won.
If Petrenko won. So he won 4-0. But if you kind of Kurtagali is one of the only like Eastern European dudes that I had any you kind of know his name. He's from Kazakhstan. But he's like technically like the best dude on the table. Like that's what everybody says. Like technically, there's just no more technique than Kurtagali Ongarbayev. And then Oleg Petrenko, I kind of knew about him, but he just kind of shows up and he is just like, you can't see his head or his neck. His arms and his shoulders are just very obviously blocking everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And I mean, he just took Kurtagali's arm and just put it into the floor. Yeah. I mean, he just smashed him 4 rounds in a row. Kurtagali, and the analysts were talking about it. Kurtagali tried like every technique in the book. And Petrenko just smashed him 4 rounds in a row, setting up a potential super match. All right, I'm not putting pressure on him. I think it's a title shot match with him, and I think it's they said it was supposed to be like what? So what are Petrenko and Kurtagali at? They got to be at like 85 kilo or something like that. They're a lighter weight. 60 kilos is all in Petrenko's arms, 100%.
60.
At least 60.
Yeah, it's like 150. I don't know. He's so Oleg. At least I don't know when this data's from, but he weighed in at 230.
Okay.
So 104.
Okay, so like 105 kilo. Yeah.
I mean, hey, let's see. Well, yeah, Paulin's not going to come back up. Well, maybe he will.
I don't know if I want to see that. I love Paulin.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it'd be more fun to watch than a bunch of 6040s.
Certainly. No, 100%.
I mean,
100%. Yeah, Petrenko, all we know about him, listen for Petrenko's name in the future. Same with Kurtagali, he's going to be. But Petrenko is going to be a real serious problem. He might have a title shot coming up. But
in 105, sure. He goes up to 115. He's
going to have some trouble.
That's not going to be.
He's too short. He's like 4'5".
115 is a mean class to be in right now.
What's super heavyweight technically?
I have no idea.
Because there's like 115.
Well, it's 115.
Is it 115 to 125 or what is it? See, this is another problem, folks. With you can't just you can't say, hey, this is a 115 or a 105 kilo match, and then this match is a super heavyweight match. Stick to one thing, okay?
I want to say, like, yeah, and that maybe that's my confusion, but I'm looking
at a sheet curated by an AI. His name may be Ben, and maybe it's just his fault, but also it totally could be their fault.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think that like everybody has different way. It's funny to me because like I've been looking into like competing in some powerlifting.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's like the total opposite. Like the USAPL has an incredible set of rules. Like everything is normalized, everything is very rigid, and then we go to arm wrestling and everything's just kind of like, well, whatever.
KOTT and EVW rules are tattooed on Engen's forearm. I'm pretty positive, actually.
Yeah, and that's where everybody has to read them.
He has the testaments, aka the rules, tattooed on his back.
And yeah, I'll read them
on papyrus.
In the papyrus font. All right, then we had. And they did not go the extra 2 matches, and I respect that.
Yeah, Petrenko and Kurtagali stopped. Petrenko won 4 matches. It's over. No more 2 matches.
Yeah.
Actually, they said Kurtagali ran away. Ray's like, they're like, are they going to do another extra 2 rounds? And they're like, Ray's like, I don't know. Kurtagali's gone.
It's just like he's gone. Yeah. So then I thought a somewhat interesting match.
This was my favorite match.
Kamil Jablonski and Vitaly Lelettin. So,
on paper, this was my favorite match.
Yeah.
I had just real quick, Kamil Jablonski, the only thing I really knew about him is like I had just watched him in Arm Wars against Devin. He had a left-handed super match. That's a super match, okay?
Yeah.
That's a super match. And Jablonski smashed Devin 4 rounds in a row.
Damn.
I mean, just smashed him left-handed. And I was
push it real good.
You know, and Devin, I don't know, because Arm Wars throws something out like I don't know how long it's been since this pull. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as we knew, Devin was training for Levon, and he's not training left.
Ask Neil Pickup. He runs it.
Is that who? Yeah, Neil's still running it? It's like, I think it's still called Arm Wars or Dark Wars. There's something.
No, it's still Arm Wars, I think.
Is it right?
I don't. Yeah,
but it's YouTube exclusive, or it's on the website, or wherever the heck it is. But it's like they have a lot of great, like, interview packages and stuff, like, on their product. You know, Arm Wars is another organization. Ben briefly talked about it before. It used to be a TV show-esque thing. Arm Wars is like now transitioned to its like website, and there's YouTube content like 6 months after the fact. It's really weird. I think they have like the SBD Strongman product type. We'll put it out 30 years later, and you actually forget about it.
Yeah,
but
sure. Here it is. Yeah, World's Strongest Man. It was snow on the ground.
But so Kamil smashed, like I said. So my assumption is that Devin probably wasn't training left arm, but Devin's always ready for a match. He does, you know, he knows a little bit about Kamil. I don't know where any actual arm wrestling content, like if you go to YouTube and you YouTube Kamil Jablonski, it's not like you're gonna find 4,000 matches. You know, I don't know where all this video content is. Probably on a Nokia flip phone in Russian somewhere. That's where that arm wrestling content is.
The tome.
Yeah, it's only on Russian smartphones, and it's not on the internet, so you don't get to see content.
Right.
But
that's where it's putting Putin down.
That's where everybody's they're all putting their videos online.
Yep. All right. So,
but Kamil absolutely looked like a monster. Vitaly Lelettin, 6'45". I'm pretty sure he's a massive.
I think
man.
he's 10 feet tall. Actually.
I'm pretty positive he's 10 feet tall.
He's like 600 pounds.
Yeah,
700 pounds.
On paper, this match was the craziest match ever. These two are both monsters. It's a left-handed match.
Yep.
From what you hear or you see, like everybody's like Vitaly is the best left-handed puller in the world right now, like without a doubt the best left-handed puller in the world. And I was like, okay, well, let's see it. Yep. He also, side fact, he has the world record on the grip strength meter thingamajigger.
Yeah.
You ever seen those things?
Yeah.
He just broke the world record like recently. Vitaly's last video he posted was like 146.
Dude,
Brian Shaw had the first.
Yeah.
Brian Shaw had the first one, and then Vitaly like just broke it again.
Yeah, I think Brian will break it from him, but
I want somebody to just break the actual thing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm waiting for.
Well, Vitaly might do it. My favorite quote of this entire event was from Coach Ray, and he said, "I'm rooting for Kamil right now because I just don't want to go there and do an interview with Vitaly."
Yeah. He hates the height differential when he stands next to Vitaly.
Well, I mean, it's already kind of a funny thing, and then Vitaly's like 7 feet tall, and
zero exaggeration. Yeah, I think Vitaly Lelettin is. I think he's like 6'8" or 6'9", and so
I think he's 10. I think it's 6'10".
Is he 6'10"? I wouldn't doubt it. He's preposterously tall, and Croce is like 5'5" or something like that.
Don't get mad at us.
We love you, Coach Ray. You're the most valuable person to the sport. You're like Nick Best to us. You're so valuable. We need to hold you and coddle you forever.
I don't know if I could hold you, but
No, I wish I could hold Nick Best, but I would literally pull every muscle in the body.
he is a dude.
He's a man. He's a sweetheart of a man. Ben's trying to find Vitali's height, but it's not. It's so secret. It's like Undertaker in the WWE when they were like, "Where's this guy from?" and it just said parts unknown. You're like, Jesus, that's mysterious.
It's like trying to figure out where the room guy is from.
Yeah,
Where,
the room. What's his name?
Okay, I guess he's only like 6'7".
Tommy Wiseau.
Tommy Wiseau. Yeah, we're so I guess he's like 6'7".
Okay, so yeah, 6'7", 6'8". But
Still, he's huge.
That's what I'm saying. In folklore, he's 7'5". Okay.
Yep. In the stories that will be told and passed down. I thought it was a good match to watch. I think
what did you? There were some actual proper takeaways from this match. This is when anything started to get kind of interesting.
Well, and it would have been better if there were actual refs.
Yeah.
Out there. I mean, there was like their setups were terrible. Like a lot of times they weren't even in the middle of the table, or they were arms, like their wrists weren't straight.
A lot of the problems, it seemed like Vitali would literally would already start like top rolling and pushing down Camille's wrist, and it would never be center. Well, and then the match would start with Camille at a deficit.
Yeah, or Camille would jump the gun.
Yeah.
Early start, which he did a couple
that was
times.
Happening, then that started to happen. So he's trying to like fast do it because the refs are screwing him almost over.
Well, and then he was at one point in time he was just in the middle of a press, and he had opened up Vitali, and he was in a press, and then they just like stopped the match. Yeah. And some foul which was Camille, which was nonsense.
It's so weird. I don't even think they have the refs mic'd up. The refs need to be mic'd up. They almost need to be able to be in contact with the commentators so they can relay what's going on. You never, when a foul happens,
some real refs.
When you have a foul, you never know what's going on.
Yeah.
They're just doing the thing, and you're like, okay, this side, and then Coach Ray will try to interpret. He's like, that was a running foul, and everybody's like, okay, what the hell's a running foul? And there's, and it's like,
dude, I was watching some like a YouTube video of some like relatively small thing.
Organization.
It's actually run by a guy that we're trying to get an interview for, but he ran a couple events like way back in the middle of 2000s, like 2006 or something. Mm-hmm. And it's this round robin thing where a whole bunch of guys have to arm wrestle everybody like a bunch of times, and they've got like maybe like 2 or 3 tables, and these refs are amazing.
Yeah,
they're in control of the match. All their setups are great. They're like, people are listening to and respecting what they're saying. When they call a foul, they explain the foul,
right?
And it just helps people learn and helps people engage with it.
Yeah.
And in this, it's just they're just like, they make a call, no one knows what it is, and then they look at the camera or they look at each other and they're like, I don't know.
Yeah,
like it's not.
I just think I think it's very obviously a case of, monopolization of the community right now, of the high end of the events that we have.
Well, and I mean, I would argue that like there's this like arm wrestling has this sort of like it's like, I've said this 1,000 times, but it's kind of a regional thing, and it has a pretty big following in those places. And then you kind of have like these other events sitting over here.
I know.
And those are the events that are streamed and people know about them outside of your regional events. And it's like, if we could find a way to like meld these things together, I think things would be better. And I think if you got more publicity and more attention at the regional level, pull those refs. They know what they're doing. They do it. They ref like match after match after match after match. So
I know.
I could go on for days. But
the same exact problem with the regional level. It's just so small. Think about how small professional is. It's like the regional is just so much more minuscule. And you have, a higher quality. We haven't had a quality professional ref since somebody like Bart Wood from like WAL. Like it's like been that long. And once again, Bart Wood, a former puller. You need somebody who understands the sport,
right?
Like
and
truly
the most can talk back to people.
Yeah, the most value. Like Devin Larratt, like becoming a ref would be one of the most important things in arm wrestling like you could ever do.
I don't know.
That would truly be a nightmare. He would actually probably attack you via like if you talked back to him. But just somebody who understands the sport.
Right. No, I know.
Like these guys literally look like they were just working, like Abu Dhabi Wall Street, and they're just like, here I am. Here we are. Or just like a tourist Like the main ref was like, okay, like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
They stink.
Yeah.
And they stink.
They stink.
They stink, and they can genuinely ruin an event. They ruin matches single-handedly.
Yeah.
Vitali crushed. We'll speak about it right now. Vitali beat Camille. Camille kind of got screwed over. They went a full 6. Vitali won 4. Camille won the last 2 that don't matter.
Right.
Nobody cares. It was for his diary or something to make him sound cool. But
yeah,
Artem.
Yeah. So
Morozov,
the last match, super heavyweight, Artem Morozov and Ivan Matushenko. It was an interesting match to watch.
It was great, but this is, you had great stuff, and then you had an example of why every match takes 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of running fouls. So, like, the match starts, and after the first round, you're like, oh my God, Matushenko is... I mean, the power that he was showing against Morozov was absolutely insane, especially for what you saw from Morozov in the last match. I forget who he won the title against.
Well, Matushenko is a strategist, man. He knows...
Dude,
have you seen the size of his head?
Yes, I have. He looks like everybody who should be named Ivan Matushenko. Like, that's exactly what they should look like.
Yeah.
And you just thought, like, that he was just going to press him over and over. I mean, he tried to press Morozov like 6 times in each round and got an elbow foul or a running foul for like 4 rounds in a row.
Well, and the whole foul thing was just not, like, the way that they were, I don't know. That's
the other thing.
The reffing ruined it.
It's so hard to decipher even what's happening.
Yeah, I know.
They'll say it's a running foul, they say it's an elbow foul, and it's like, I feel like there should be 45 points via foul at this point. And it's...
Well, and the little, like, foul counter that they have on the thing doesn't mean it's never right.
Never right. I mean, they're like, I would love to know who's actually working the actual proper scoreboard on the stream, because they're also confused a lot of the time.
Yeah, no, it's because everybody is.
It's
the only thing interesting I thought about that match was something I found out afterwards, which apparently Morozov came in with multiple injuries and was not doing too well. So I thought that was interesting that he was, I don't know, came in injured and still was able to win.
I mean, the best in the world, that's what they got to do, right? It's like you're trying. It's also, especially since this has already been rescheduled. It's already a replacement match, for the main event. So it's like, God, to pull out again. Like, what are we going to replace it with? Schoolboy and Ryan Bowen.
Just every match, every event,
5 straight matches of Schoolboy and Ryan Bowen.
Every event, yeah. Okay, so I mean, some stuff to
the card as a whole.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Bleh.
Truly,
2 out of 5.
I would give it a 2.5 out of 5. One of the weaker. We're 11 events in for King of the Table, and every King of the Table is stacked. So this one was kind of like,
well, they're kind of like, and then some of the stuff. I mean, some of the matches end up being pretty great, and then I don't know. East versus West usually has a better card, but they just need to get better production.
You can't help of a stinker. Once again, this is like another important, that matchmaking is massive. Like, it's just so important. Yeah. We need better matchups. You can't have one-sided steamrollings for 7 matches. That's no fun for nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that.
In the greater arm wrestling world, Devin and Brian Shaw training together.
Yeah, Devin flew down and is staying with Brian for, I think, a week or something.
Yep. So
Derek Wolf posted a video on Reddit a while ago, like a 3.5-minute video to the arm wrestling subreddit, basically, because he's in contact with Brian Shaw, because Derek's also in Colorado where Brian Shaw is. So he's like not constant, but one of the few arm wrestlers in contact with Brian Shaw to let him know what's going on, who he can set up stuff with. And he was just saying that, that Devin's coming down for like a week to train with Brian. And, Brian seems like pretty heavily serious about what, if you know Brian Shaw, there's just nothing that he's not going to take super seriously if he's going to do it.
Right.
He dedicated those 6 months to fighting an MMA match that never happened. So it's like that sucks major for him. So I'm sure like he just wants to dive into something like this.
Yeah.
Somebody, and as a former strongman, super passionate grip strength athlete, you couldn't ask for like somebody more like this in the arm wrestling community.
Yeah.
It's super exciting. They posted a video today. They posted a couple of videos today.
Yeah, there's one where Devin's doing some grip stuff and talking about like he's honestly like they did some blobs and you know Devin was very honest. He's like, it's not really my thing, man.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and we know that. You know, if you watch
fine.
Devin pull, you know, he's not a grip dude.
Yeah.
He's his whole head game is messing with the grip at the start. Like he's not ever going to grip up with him.
And he made a good point, like picking up a blob. Like he said, my hand's never going to be that open. Like I'm not going to train
That's
that
not the grip.
because why?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that should be interesting. East vs. West 13 is coming up in July 6th. So like a month.
Yeah, let me pull up this card quick.
It's a long card, but it looks like an okay one. While you're doing that, I have here are the two questions I have.
Yeah.
And maybe if we increase our social media presence, which speaking of that, you all should follow and like and hit all the buttons for the Strong Casuals Instagram and the Strong Casuals Facebook. We have a Facebook because we are over 30 years old. And we're on the Instagrams.
We want your grandparents to follow us.
Exactly. Yep. Tell your parents.
But we're also on Reddit at r/TheStrongCasuals. I'm posting the episodes there if you want to comment there too.
Absolutely. Go there. And I think maybe we'll post it on Reddit or Facebook. But my two questions are, number one, should East vs. West and King of the Table just become one event? Because I think it should. And then number two, I think we should bring the WAL back. And I think I've heard some murmurs from Monster Michael Todd. I've heard some murmurs from some other people that that's maybe actually a thing. And I loved the WAL.
It's the best.
Remember, we were on the verge. We were going to go to an event, and then COVID hit, and then COVID just knocked it out. And so I really want to bring that back.
You need an American side an event.
Well, and it was reffed well. They had crowds. Whether those crowds knew what was going on or not, who cares? They were there. It was an event, and it was something to watch. So, should East vs. West and King of the Table merge, and then I think we should bring the WAL back.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, the East vs. West 13, it's coming up in July 6th, Istanbul. The main event is going to be Artem Morozov, who's defending his belt against Vitaly Lutkin. That's a match. Yeah. Now, that is a match. That is going to be absolutely insane. But my personal favorite match, I think the world is very excited about this, the co-main event. I'm assuming it's probably going to be the co-main event, is the Travis Bajent's return to the table versus Serhiy Kalinichenko, which if you've ever seen a picture of this guy, Serhiy Kalinichenko, he is 100% the Russian Iceman. He's very obviously a contract killer, and it's so clear by his face. You couldn't even, that's what it is. And Todd Hutchings is coming back. Todzilla's back.
Yeah,
once again, there's like 675 fights on this card. That's what I'm saying. The difference between
it's up to 700 now.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
But we will definitely dive into that more on our next episode.
As it gets closer.
So next episode, we're looking at so we're going to intro the England's Strongest Man and Britain's Strongest Woman. That is coming up very quickly. And there's
finally
some great people in there on both sides. We'll talk events, we'll talk athletes, and then after that, we'll talk about results, intro East vs. West 13, and keep going. So,
I agree. I've had a little, obviously after the World's Strongest Man, there's a small gap between those next events, so it'll be exciting to get some strongman events started back up again, and some really, theoretically, every arm wrestling match changes 17 times, but theoretically some really good events coming up, and it'll be really exciting.
Yeah. So remember to go on the old Instagrams and follow us, and go on the Facebooks and give us a like and a follow. And
on the social medias, we're all there, and like and subscribe.
You remember,
if you're gripping,
we're talking.
The Strong Casuals is produced by Beats for the Mind Studios.